No, muchas gracias. Después de, aunque hemos hecho ya la sesión de clausura, justamente ahora es el momento donde ya podemos empaquetar. We can package everything. And I think this is great that we have this session proving that this COP25 is carbon neutral and sustainable event, and with all kind of certificates needed. So it's my pleasure to give the floor to Ismael. Are you first? Ismael Aznar. So Julie, the discussion.
Thank you, Alicia. Just a short word to introduce my panelists. I have here José Luis from Acciona, who is carrying out the calculation of the carbon footprint of COP25, and Steve Hammer from the World Bank, who is providing the projects from which we will get the units that we will use to compensate the emissions of this event. We'll have short presentations. We want this to be a short event. It's in a way the cherry on the cake after closing this pavilion, just to explain how we've been working on sustainability, how we will calculate the emissions and offset those emissions with carbon credits. And when we finish, we will have on the stage Secretary of State Hugo Morán and SGS, the company who will hand over the certificate on the sustainability, recognizing, certifying the sustainability of COP25 to Secretary of State, and hopefully we'll have participation as well from Ovais, the Deputy Executive Secretary of the Convention, who will join us by the end of the session. So I would simply now leave José Luis to explain how Acciona is calculating the carbon footprint of COP25 as part of their contribution, Acciona's contribution to the success of this COP. So thank you, José Luis. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Ismael. Thank you. I think that we are all very tired after 2 weeks. I will be brief. The calculations, imagine that you have to calculate the carbon footprint of this event. We have, first of all the venue, and all the venue has made by people who is coming with materials, raw materials, and producing waste. We are, first of all, making the first environment, the first scope that we have at the COP. We calculate also the distance of the people who is coming. It's very easy because we have all the registrations, these very heavy procedures in the front from the front door. We are capable to calculate where the people come from. Around 20,000 people is coming to the blue zone, and also we have the registration from IFEMA in the green zone. We have also from the accommodation the days to stay, and we have also how they are commuting, and also emissions for the resources consumption, resources and local transportation, the freight transport of goods to the conference, and the fugitive emissions during the conference. This is very comprehensive, but we are not new because these procedures are made for many years in the different COPs, and you can find also, but it's very interesting and illustrating, you can find the other calculations that the other COPs has done. To give you some figures about how it works, the main data comes from the UNCCC register. We need to say that the people from the UNCCC has their own calculations, and they are neutralizing their own footprint. We are only calculating and also compensating the footprint of the people who is coming outside of the civil servants of the UN. The emission factors that we are using in order to, because we have the activity and we have also the emission factors, what we are using are provided by the Oficina Española de Cambio Climático, and also we are using the the International Energy Agency emission factors. How many tons of CO2 could emit an event like this? Who has an idea about how many tons?
I know.
You know, How many tons? How many of you say, for example, 1,000? No, nobody. Yeah. 10,000. 10,000? No. 50,000? 50,000? Any more? 100,000. 200,000. No clue, because well, you are the winner. You are the winner. It's around 60,000 tons if you compare, for example, with Katowice. But it's only part of the process. I am finishing also. It's only part of the process because we hire the same third-party external to verify independently this footprint. Is SGS also that we have hired in order to have this third-party opinion on that. All the procedures and also the report of how we are calculating this will be provided to the Spanish government and will be available also in the web of the UNFCCC in the same way that the others COP has done. Okay, thank you for the opportunity to collaborate, and I think that we also want to sum to the congratulations to the Spanish government for this wonderful and effective event that you have organized. Thank you very much.
Thank you, José Luis. I was going to interrupt you because I had an exchange with some journalists before, and they were, I don't know where they took the figure from, but they were talking about 200,000 tons. So yeah, it's important that we are accurate and we calculate the emissions well. Now I'm going to have, we have a short presentation. I try to go fast through the presentation to explain a bit what we are doing in terms of sustainability in this COP, and in particular on the offsetting of emissions. Well, first of all, I like to stress that we've been taking a comprehensive approach on sustainability, and I want to thank Marta, who is sitting here in the first, because she's been taking care of all the sustainability issues throughout this process during the last weeks. We've had very short time to organize the COP. You all know we've been rushing during the last weeks, but we have tried to make sustainability one of the key drivers of this event. We've tried to use resources in a sustainable manner, in a responsible and efficient manner, trying to reduce the production of waste and trying to reduce the consumption of water and energy. You all know probably this bottle that we have distributed, and you know that there are fountains where you can fill in the bottles to avoid that we produce more waste and that we use bottles, in particular plastic bottles. We've been trying also to implement a sustainable management of waste, also educating people with the right information and providing capacity to volunteers who have been attending, who have been participating in the COP and helping participants in the COP to know how to sort out the different types of waste. Trying to reuse, sort and recycle waste, and trying also to reduce emissions by promoting low carbon ways of transport. We've been trying to promote rail with a discount of 35% provided by Renfe, and providing free local transport in Madrid, together with the regional government and the city of Madrid. This should result in the end in getting some recognition in form of certificates. We are trying to certify the COP according to ISO 20120. This is already done, and we will have the short ceremony with the handover of the certificate. But we are also carrying out the certification as according to ISO 14001 and EMAS, the European Commission Eco-Management and Audit Scheme. This takes a bit longer. There are some procedural issues. We need some information that is not available yet. So by the spring, we are expecting to have this certificate, and then it will be the first COP to be certified by 3 different schemes. It's not the first COP which has a certificate as a sustainable event. There is already one before that got it, but hopefully it will be the first one that has this degree of recognition in terms of certification of its sustainability. And then let me move to the offsetting of emissions. As said, we have tried to be as efficient as possible, reduce emissions also as regards transportation, but we know that there are some emissions that are unavoidable, and we have committed to compensate those emissions. How are we going to do that? Well, first, which units are we going to use? We are going to use CERs. CERs are the units coming from the Clean Development Mechanism, which is a new UNFCCC mechanism. Why are we using CERs? Oh, sorry. Well, we are at a UNFCCC COP. We believe it makes sense, it makes political sense to use UNFCCC credits. But I would say that with betting on CERs, we are also betting on multilaterally agreed rules. And I think that's important. Show our commitment with an offsetting program which is agreed between all parties gathering here in this COP, which have established sound rules to account for the emission reductions, how this should be accounted, how the emission reduction should be calculated. This is something that has been agreed by all parties of the convention. It's not like a private scheme, which is where rules are set up by a foundation or an association. This is much more transparent, much more inclusive in terms of participation, and being aware that, well, CERs have been facing criticism because, I mean, there are different kinds of projects with different quality, but despite of that, we still believe that CERs are the best units available right now. We have our hope on the agreements today on Article 6.4, and we expect to improve the quality of UNFCCC offsets. But right now, what we have is CERs. And CERs have also an important element which I believe we have to stress, which is that we contribute to sustainable development in developing countries. We are helping countries more vulnerable to climate change to develop and implement projects, help them to mitigate climate change in their own countries, transfer technology and channel finance to new projects that reduce emissions in those countries. And it has been important in terms of building capacities and having a learning process in those countries to further develop their climate change policies. As said, there are different kinds of projects under the CDM. There are projects which are better quality, projects which are more dubious. We will be using to offset the COP25 emissions carbon credits from the CDCF. This is a World Bank carbon fund where we are participants. We are one of the major donors to the Spanish government is one of the major contributors to the CDCF, which focuses on projects which provide co-benefits to local communities in the most vulnerable areas around the world. Here we have some examples of projects: solar home systems in Bangladesh, biogas in Nepal, municipal waste management for composting in Uganda, efficient lighting program in Rwanda, or a geothermal expansion program project in Kenya. These are good examples of the projects which could provide the credits we will use to offset COP25 emissions. How many units will we use to offset COP25 emissions? We still don't know. Acciona is calculating the carbon footprint, but as José Luis was saying, we have a rough estimation of between 60,000 and 65,000 tons. We could go for a mere offsetting, cancelling as many tons of emissions as emissions have been produced by the COP, but we want to go beyond offsetting. We will cancel twice as many units as emissions the COP will generate. Why are we doing so? Well, two reasons. First, we want to ensure that real reductions are achieved. The CDM, as said before, has sound, stringent rules to establish additionality, to establish a conservative baseline upon which emission reductions are credited, so we can be sure that emission reductions are real. But
Oh, thank you.
To go beyond that, we will cancel twice as many emissions. So to make sure that emission reductions that we cancel compared to the emissions that we are producing at the COP are real. And furthermore, we want to provide a net benefit to the climate system. This is perhaps a new concept for those familiar with the CDM, but it's very much now being discussed in the context of Article 6. New mechanisms should go beyond pure offsetting, should make a net contribution in terms of climate change mitigation. And we don't have those mechanisms yet, but we can do our contribution by cancelling more units than needed. And that's why we will cancel twice as many units as emissions we will have. And finally, last word, transparency. We believe that this is utterly important. We want to make this fully transparent, and that's also why we are using CERs. CERs, well, of course, we will publish information on the carbon footprints once it's available, but CERs are cancelled in the KP registry, in the Kyoto Protocol registry, and this is the maximum transparency we can provide. The Spanish registry, the Kyoto Protocol registry, is in the Spanish section of the Union registry, in the European Union, where we have a section for the EU ETS, but we also have our Kyoto Protocol registry. That cancellation will be available to anyone. We will get a kind of receipt. It's not something amazing that we can put on the wall, but at least we have a paper that shows that credits have been cancelled. And more important, the information on the cancellation will be reflected in the annual reporting obligations that we, as party to the Kyoto Protocol, have within the UNFCCC. So at the end of the year, when we provide that information to the UNFCCC, it will be possible to see that, well, which variations we have had in our registry, and you will see that there are some credits that have been cancelled, and that will be because of this offsetting policy we are following. Well, thank you very much. This is the approach we are taking on offsetting. And now I will give the floor to Steve Hammer from the World Bank, who will explain a bit more about the CDCF and the projects we will be using. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Ismael, and thank you to the government of Spain for the invitation and the opportunity to participate in this. You know, one of the things that we've been most struck by as we came to participate in COP25 was the extraordinary effort that was made to manage this transition from Santiago to Madrid in such a short period of time, but now to layer on top of it that it is all being done in such a sustainable manner is really, it's quite extraordinary and real testament to, you know, your government's focus on these issues. So I represent the climate team at the World Bank. I'm an advisor to the Vice President and our global directors. And we have several hundred staff at the bank who exclusively focus on climate change issues. And if you happen to be at the MDB pavilion over the past week or at some of the other pavilions or here as well, you've been hearing about some of the activities that we've been involved in and the billions of dollars in climate-related lending that we've been fortunate enough to support governments on over the last year or several years. But we haven't really focused on this particular issue and more of the historic involvement of the bank dating back over 20 years on these issues. So it's a really nice way to finish up the COP by paying testament to those teams and those efforts as well. So Ismael mentioned a lot of the basics that these activities have been verified. They are part of some long-term lending programs in many cases that the bank has been involved with, and that the CERs that have been created are very good, are really the additional bonus that we get, and we can use it for activities like this. The Community Development Carbon Fund, and as was mentioned, Spain is one of the major contributors to that. It's been around since 2003. There are 19 projects that it's supported over the years, and 5 of them are being drawn on to offset COP emissions. And so as was mentioned, in Bangladesh, there's the solar home systems in over 2 million installations around the country, primarily in rural communities. In Nepal, the biogas, yeah, it'd be good if you go back to that.
That's what, sorry.
Great. In Nepal, the biogas installations have displaced conventional fuel sources for cooking, and 60,000 small biogas plants have been installed, again, in rural households around that country. In Uganda, the composting program is in 9 different facilities that are using windrow composting as a way to help avoid the methane emissions that would occur in the otherwise open landfills around the country. In Rwanda, the emission reductions have come from compact fluorescent light bulb replacement program, 683,000 light bulbs distributed over a 7-year period. Remember that these are historic projects, and so you may not see that it's not an LED program, which if you were doing today's technology, you would benefit from that. And I think as we move towards the future programs, we will begin to see more of that. But this was a huge technology leap in Rwanda over that 7-year period. And then finally, in Kenya, it was the additional turbine at the geothermal power plant, the Okaria 2 power plant, and that displaced fossil fuel generation in Kenya. So all of these projects were fully verified. The emission reductions were fully verified using the CDM methods, as was mentioned. The one thing that I think is unique about this, and you got a sense in terms of the type of projects, is that they are community-based and community-focused. It's not just a big project. It really tries to focus on the job creation benefits as well, the clean air benefits, the health benefits that then go along with that, improved energy access or energy efficiency, thereby resulting in cost savings for households. And that is a very fundamental component, I think a unique component of this particular fund. And so it's really great that your government has been a part of supporting not just the emission piece, but also the community development component as well. Let me just finish by talking about where do we go from here in terms of the post-CDM world. And we're already looking at different mechanisms. We're trying to see how we fit within the Article 6 framework or the type of activities that we can participate in to support government achievement of their heightened ambition called for under the agreement. One of the areas that we're particularly focusing on is using policy reforms that creates the proper enabling environment to enable the emission reductions. And here there's another fund that's based at the bank. It's known as the Carbon Partnership Facility. Spain is also a contributor to that. And it brings together, again, buyers and sellers, but it relies on not the project per se, but on the policy. And so a great example here was the financing scheme that was set up to support the taxi replacement program in Cairo. 90% of the taxis were replaced with more efficient vehicles, less polluting vehicles as a result of the Carbon Partnership Facility. So again, multiple different ways that we can begin to promote emission reduction. Some of it's on the hard capital investment. Other times it's more of a policy framework that enables these things to proceed. So we're very grateful to Spain. Appreciate the opportunity to participate in this particular activity to help do our part to support the sustainability of the COP. We will have more activities. We're longstanding partners with the Spanish government. We're very appreciative of that. You may be aware that the Innovate for Climate conference series will be back in Spain in May 26 through 28 later this year, or in 2020, and we hope to see you there, and we look forward to continuing this very productive relationship. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Steph. Thank you. Happy to see that you mentioned the program in Cairo, which started with the Spanish Carbon Fund,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and then went to the CPF, mm-hmm. and I'm happy to see that it's given good results. Well, I don't know if anyone from the audience wants to speak. Anyone has a question or comment?
Hello, could you give us some detail about the 60,000 CO2 emissions? In what was the principal cause of these emissions? Thank you very much.
Yes. May? Okay. 86% we are talking about the Katowice baseline, okay? We have not the current calculations, as you know. If you have a look to the Katowice footprint, we have 87%, 86%, sorry, is about the flights of the people, the long distance travels, okay? 10% is around 10% the accommodation. The venue only qualify 2%, and other concepts are around other 2%. This is the breakdown of the emissions, taking into account Katowice baseline, okay? But we consider that we have an advantage because if we have not so much time to prepare the venue, we have less footprint. Probably we need to include the Santiago's footprint into this.
We know that Chile is also doing its part. I see here representative from Chile's government, and we've been in touch with them when we started thinking about offsetting the emissions from the COP as host country in Madrid. We talked to them to know what they were doing, and they were already calculating the emissions incurred in the preparations for Santiago, and they also have plans to offset that part.
Two footprints.
Any more questions, comments? No? Okay, then if we are done with this first part of the event, we can move to the second one, which is, as I said before, sort of ceremony of handover of the certificate. Okay, we will wait. We will break for 5 minutes. Wait for a vice from the UNFCCC Secretariat, who is in his way, I think, and then we do the small event. Thank you.
puedo empezar, no hay ningún problema.
Está también el representante de Chile, digo, por si después cuando acabéis le quieres dar la palabra, por si quiere decir algo de lo que han hecho de sostenibilidad.
Bueno, ¿ya se oye? ¿Se está oyendo? Sí, perfecto. Muy bien, bueno, primero de todo, estoy orgulloso de hacer hoy la entrega de un certificado correspondiente a la implantación de un sistema de gestión de eventos sostenibles, de acuerdo a una norma internacional, la ISO 20120, que es una norma, como todos conocéis, internacional, muy exigente. Yo creo que ha sido un acto muy valiente por parte de la organización de este evento, dentro del escaso periodo de tiempo, optar no solo a montar un sistema de gestión sostenible como el que estamos hablando, sino también auditado por una tercera parte independiente. En este caso nosotros somos SGS. SGS, si lo sabéis, es la mayor empresa del mundo a nivel de inspección, verificación y certificación. Somos una tercera parte independiente y como tal hemos hecho la auditoría durante todos estos días que ha durado el evento de que efectivamente este sistema de gestión implantado pues se ha cumplido, tiene todos los procesos y todos los procedimientos necesarios para recibir el certificado según la norma ISO 20120. Como tal, tenemos aquí los certificados. Me gustaría hacer entrega, darle enhorabuena a la organización, al Gobierno de España, al Ministerio, a la ONU y en general a todas las empresas y personas participantes en este evento, que ha sido realmente increíble que en un plazo tan corto de tiempo pues no solo hayáis conseguido hacer la feria, sino montar el sistema de gestión y certificar también ese sistema de gestión, lo cual es todo un reto. Así que mi enhorabuena. Tenemos aquí los certificados. Me gustaría hacer entrega. Este es un certificado, el certificado para vosotros. Tenemos también otra copia de certificado en inglés, en este caso, también para enhorabuena también a la ONU en la que ha tenido que ver.
Thank you very much, and it's a great pleasure for me to be here. Good afternoon, and the State Secretary, the CEO of SGS, our Chilean colleague, the Chilean presidency and the Spanish government, and very specifically also the citizens of Madrid. Thank you very much for hosting this conference, and this conference is exceptional in many ways. First, because it was organized in the shortest period of time in the history of COP. It has never happened before, and in a matter of less than 4 weeks, so it's really a miracle, and that has happened here. And another exceptional thing is it has now become the second biggest COP ever after Paris. So, and that happened in a very short time. And what is more exceptional is that we have done it and we have received the certification on sustainability, which is exceptional. I mean, I don't have words to even express how satisfied we are and how grateful we are for the efforts that have gone in by everybody to make this conference as successful, as sustainable in many small ways, and with water that has been provided by the Comunidad de Madrid, the free transportation to all participants, the many environmental friendly things that have happened in the conference. So these are extremely important. And what is important here is my thought. Paris Agreement and the implementation of Paris Agreement, which is being negotiated, is all about raising ambition to go to the next level of action, of political commitment, of engagement by everybody. So when we organize the conferences, it's also the same thing. We raise the ambition for the next level. So you have set the standard very high. So next in Glasgow, I'm sure UK government is listening, so they need to go even beyond this. So thank you very much. Muchas gracias.
Bueno, pues por mi parte, utilizar las palabras imprescindibles para dar esto por concluido porque no necesitamos ir más allá con mayores explicaciones. Nos han dicho tantas veces a lo largo de estos días que se había hecho un esfuerzo extraordinario con un buen resultado de organización que vamos a acabar por creernos lo que así ha sido. Con lo cual, mi agradecimiento. Se nos exigía un esfuerzo, hemos puesto de nuestra parte todo lo que entendíamos que era necesario para sacar adelante con éxito la COP25 y ahí está el resultado, aquí lo tienen. Una parte importante de este proceso era conseguir que la misma también tuviese integrado el proceso de sostenibilidad que se le exige a un acto de estas características. La tarea comenzó en Chile. Luego me gustaría darle la palabra, en este caso, al colega chileno. Detrás de este proceso ha habido un enorme equipo humano, técnico, que lo ha hecho posible, empezando por el recinto que nos acoge. IFEMA era ya una garantía de partida y yo creo que eso nos permitió marcarnos un reto que al final hemos conseguido. Bien, hemos conseguido una certificación de sostenibilidad para la COP25. Solo nos falta una cosa, y es conseguir una certificación de estas características para el planeta. Sí. Y esa es la parte más complicada que queda por completar de ahora en adelante. Por mi parte, lógicamente, agradecer el esfuerzo de todos en este proceso. Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias. Y a mi colega chileno quisiera que cerrase el acto.
Hola, sí, bueno, ¿se escucha? Sí. La verdad, en este día de cierre, después de tantos meses de trabajo, con tantas situaciones, tantas emociones que vimos en el camino, partir por agradecerle al Gobierno de España. De verdad, la generosidad, el cariño, la acogida que tuvimos del Gobierno de España, inmediatamente el presidente Piñera tuvo que anunciar la lamentable noticia de que no íbamos a ser capaces de albergar la cumbre en Santiago. Ha sido espectacular. Nos hemos sentido como en casa, hemos sentido el cariño de ustedes y además hemos visto un trabajo excepcional contra el tiempo. O sea, 4 semanas para montar esto es, sin lugar a dudas, un récord histórico.
13 y media.
3 y media. 3 semanas y media para montar esto ha sido realmente un récord histórico. Y la verdad, hoy día vemos que fue todo un éxito. La organización fue perfecta. Tuvimos muchísima gente todos los días aquí en IFEMA. Todas las instalaciones funcionaron perfectamente bien. La gente estuvo cómoda, segura. Y aprovechar también un agradecimiento a la gente de IFEMA. No sé si hay alguien de IFEMA por ahí, pero de verdad el trabajo que ellos realizaron bajo la presión en la que estaban, acomodaron todas sus agendas para recibir la COP aquí. Y por último, una mención también al equipo de OVAIS y toda la Secretaría de Cambio Climático de Naciones Unidas. Sin el apoyo de ellos, sin el trabajo en equipo de ellos, hubiera sido imposible, por mucho esfuerzo que España o que Chile hubiera puesto. Sin el trabajo del equipo de ustedes, esto de verdad no se hubiera logrado. Ah, Laura, no la había visto. Aplausos de verdad, por favor. Nos hemos encontrado con un equipo humano, sobre todo, excepcional. Hemos creado todos lazos muy fuertes en estos meses de trabajo. Entonces, de verdad, muchísimas felicitaciones. Trabajar por algo tan importante, pero con la pasión y el cariño con que trabajan ustedes todos los días, deberá ser un ejemplo para todos nosotros y tenemos que seguir en esta línea hacia adelante. Y, por último, un poco mención a la importancia también de la sostenibilidad del evento. O sea, que si todo esto lo hubiéramos hecho sin preocuparnos realmente por el medio ambiente, hubiera sido un sinsentido. Somos los primeros llamados a preocuparnos de eso. En Chile, tal como mencionaba en la presentación anterior, estamos trabajando también en un reporte detallado de la huella de carbono del evento, de todos los trabajos, porque la verdad había mucho trabajo que hicimos en Chile, había un montaje ya muy avanzado y estamos también preparando un informe detallado con la huella de carbono y también vamos a neutralizarla por completo para cerrar de alguna forma el círculo y que todo sea lo más sustentable posible. Así que muchísimas gracias de nuevo a todos por el apoyo, por el cariño que nos han entregado en nombre de la Presidencia de Chile, así que muchas gracias.
Pues nada, muchas gracias a todos, un abrazo desde aquí. Hemos sobrevivido, pero la vida continúa. Adelante.
Until the next time. Yes. Muchas gracias. Thank you.